As you interact with artists online, on social media, and in real life, it is inevitable that you are going to be presented with some information about how the art world works. And often, this information is opinion presented as fact. And some of these strong opinions can ultimately take on mythical or near mythical status. I'm Jason Horejs. I own Xanadu Gallery in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I publish RedDot Blog. And today I wanted to dispel 6 of the most common myths you're going to encounter as you interact with others in the art world. And the first myth is that great art sells itself. And this myth hurts us in a couple of different ways. First, it can trap an artist in the studio pursuing what may end up being an unattainable perfection in their art. There is a tendency among many artists to strive for perfection that gets in the way of getting your art out into the world. And number 2 is exactly that. It prevents you from taking the efforts to get your art out into the world as early as you should. I would encourage you to get your work out there no matter what stage you're at in your art career and no matter how insecure you are about your art. Don't wait until you are creating the greatest art you know you're capable of creating. Instead, get your artwork out there and let people see it. The interactions that you're going to have with people viewing your art, the encouragement you're going to receive, and even the failures that you experience are ultimately then going to feed back into your creative process and help you create even better art. And in the meantime, you're having the opportunity to sell your work, and you'll find that there are buyers out there for every art at every level. And we can start creating a successful business for you as an artist very early in your career. Do not wait until you're creating perfect art because you'll be waiting forever. The second myth that's out there is that you can build enough sales solely through your efforts to market your art on social media and online. I have a fairly strong social media presence, and it's inevitable that whenever I post something about how to approach galleries or what you might be doing to prepare yourself to do that, I will get comments from artists saying, "Why should I bother? The internet and social media make it possible for me to have my own gallery online." And certainly as the internet came around and as social media was developed, there was this exciting sense that as an artist, you could now have the opportunity to connect with buyers around the planet and sell directly to them. The challenge is that while that is certainly possible, the internet very quickly became a crowded and noisy place. And I don't think it's any exaggeration to say that there are millions of artists sharing their work online, and they're sharing potentially billions of pieces, and it makes it very difficult to get through all that noise to your buyers. Now, that's not to say that the internet isn't important, that a social media following can't help you build your business, but I recommend that an artist, especially early in their career, take a hybrid approach to marketing their artwork. Build partnerships with galleries, find representation, go and participate in art festivals and shows where you can connect one-on-one with collectors, while at the same time building a social media presence and building a great web presence through your website. And all of those efforts will combine to help you start to reach buyers and make those initial sales. Now, the third myth is related to this second one, and that is that no art will sell online. There's a sense among many artists that you need to see and experience art in person in order to really appreciate it, and certainly in order to want to make a commitment to purchase that artwork. And I would agree that in the early phases of the advent of the internet and of selling art online, many buyers were reluctant to make purchases, especially of artwork of significant value online. But over time, a buyer's willingness to buy online has shifted. And what we're seeing now is that there is an increasing willingness to make purchases online. Last year, Xanadu Gallery saw 31% of its sales come from online activity from people who had never visited our physical gallery in Arizona. That is a stunning number. Almost a third of our sales were generated online, and that number is growing year after year. And so it is important to have that web presence. And as people become more and more comfortable buying online, as we see a new generation maturing into art collectorship, I expect that we're going to see even more of those sales shift to online. And so it's important to have that hybrid presence. Now, of course, you also need to make sure that your buyers feel they can trust you. And so having a good professional website set up and having your work present in a number of online venues can help create the trust that people need to make purchases. The benefit of selling online is that you do have the potential to reach a vast audience if you have the power to cut through some of that noise that's out there. Another myth is that lowering prices will lead to more sales, or that art that is priced at a lower level is going to attract more buyers than artwork that's priced at a higher level. And I have seen from experience that this simply is not the case, and that in fact, pricing your artwork too low can hurt your chances of making sales, especially with established collectors. And I can think of several key examples of artists that I work with that are great illustrations of this. One of the artists I work with, who's out of New Mexico, started showing with us 7 or 8 years ago. His artwork is very interesting. Buyers were attracted to it and did start making purchases to the point where we were selling the art more quickly than he could replace it. And so my natural response was, well, if the demand is outpacing the supply of the artwork, it's classic economic theory that you need to raise the price. And so we did. Now, did that slow down the sale? No. In fact, the sales increased. Each time we would increase the prices, the artwork seemed to sell even more quickly, to the point where now, 6 or 7 years later, we are now at double the price for his artwork, and it continues to sell more quickly than he can produce it. And so don't be afraid to raise your prices to a level that brings them in line with the marketplace. And of course, this is the caveat, right? We don't want to just randomly start adding zeros to our price tags. So instead, I recommend that you look at the venues where you would like to be showing your work, galleries and art shows and festivals. See where the artists in those venues are pricing their work and bring your artwork into alignment with those pricing. And then as the sales start to kick in, be consistent in moving the value of your artwork up over time. The next pernicious myth is that sales are all about talent. In other words, the more talented an artist you are, the more sales you're going to see. And certainly there are some amazingly talented artists out there, and great art will tend to rise to the top, but sometimes it takes too long. And we certainly have all heard stories of artists who became famous after they had died. We don't want that to happen to you. It is natural for an artist to feel some trepidation and doubt about the quality of their own work, and that can lead to a tendency to be afraid to show that work, to share it with the world. And I would encourage you, again, to focus on getting your artwork out there and getting it seen. People are going to like what you're doing. Not everyone, but you're going to find an audience that resonates with your work, and you can't wait until your talent is fully developed. And finally, the last myth, only well-established artists can make a living as an artist. Now, certainly we can point to examples of very well-established artists who are very successful. And you might even have some artists in your local area that have become a kind of celebrity and are very successful. It is natural as you see these artists working, as you look at their art, to look then back at your own work and feel that same kind of self-doubt that we mentioned in the last myth. You can worry that you'll never be as successful as that artist, that you'll never be as talented, that you might not be as good looking or as witty. And there's going to be this whole list of self-doubt that comes at you as you try to compare yourself to a more successful artist. But don't do that. I would encourage you to only compare yourself with the artist that you've been in the past and to realize you are a much better artist than you were previously. What you're forgetting about those more established artists is that they suffer from their own self-doubt, that they were once just like you and nobody knew them, and that through their persistence and hard work, they got their work out there, they built relationships with galleries and collectors, and built their success. With hard work and persistence on your part, you can do the same. I hope discussing and debunking these myths a little bit has been helpful to you. If you're looking for additional art business insights and information, be sure to like, follow, or subscribe.